Welcome to the Giant Walk Through Gut, an immersive experience that takes you through the digestive system. All set? Let's go. First up, the oral cavity, otherwise known as the mouth. Ingestion begins in the mouth with the introduction of solid or liquid food into the stomach. As you chew, mastication occurs, whereby large pieces of solid food are mechanically broken down into smaller pieces, increasing the surface area for optimal enzyme activity and absorption. Chemical breakdown also occurs with the secretion of saliva, breaking covalent chemical bonds in organic molecules. Around 1 liter of saliva is secreted every day. Additionally, saliva aids in preventing infection by washing the oral cavity and killing bacteria via lysozymes. Overall, food spends little time in the mouth. Propulsion begins to move food from one end of the digestive tract to the other, taking a total time between 24 and 36 hours. To exit the oral cavity, the tongue turns the broken down food into a bolus and pushes it into the esophagus through the process of deglutition, or swallowing. Peristalsis continues to move the bolus further down the digestive tract into the stomach via waves of distension and contraction of the circular muscles. These waves travel the entire length of the esophagus in just 10 seconds. Because the force of peristalsis is so strong, under ordinary circumstances, food isn't able to travel backwards. However, it is possible for acid reflux to travel from the stomach into the esophagus, resulting in a painful burning sensation in the chest, known as pyrosis, or more commonly, heartburn. Because pain is felt in the chest, it is often confused with a heart attack. Heartburn is commonly caused by overeating, eating fatty foods, and lying down too quickly after a meal. Following propulsion through the esophagus, mixing begins in the stomach to break down food further with digestive secretions. The hydrochloric acid within the stomach accounts for the low pH of the stomach that maintains between 1 and 3. This acidic environment has multiple functions. It kills bacteria, inactivates salivary amylase to halt carbohydrate digestion, denatures proteins so that proteolytic enzymes have access to the internal peptide bonds, and finally, activates pepsinogen into pepsin to begin protein digestion. Almost 3 liters of gastric secretions are produced every day to facilitate chemical digestion. After a typical meal, the stomach empties within 4 hours of ingestion. One of the most common problems that arises from the stomach are peptic ulcers. The biggest misconception is that stress causes ulcers, when in reality they are due to an infection of H. pylori, resulting in an oversecretion of gastric juice relative to the amount of mucus and alkaline protection of the small intestine. Most often, antacids are prescribed to relieve ulcers by creating a more basic environment to neutralize the acidic chyme. After exiting the stomach, chyme enters the small intestine, where secretions are added to lubricate, liquefy, and digest the food particles. The small intestine can be divided into 3 sections: the duodenum, the jejunum, and ileum, with the chyme entering the duodenum first. The duodenum is associated with the liver and pancreas and possesses villi and microvilli to increase surface area over 600-fold for efficient nutrient absorption. Let's take a quick look at those accessory organs. The liver is the largest organ in the body, responsible for producing bile, storing excess sugar as glycogen, converting nutrients to other forms, and detoxifying substances. The pancreas is responsible for the majority of secretions, including the enzymes disaccharidase, peptidase, and nuclease. Now, back to the small intestine. Other secretions from the pancreas include bicarbonate ions that regulate and increase the pH in the duodenum to inactivate pepsin, so small intestine tissue is not digested. Mucus secretions are also essential to coat and protect the epithelial cells of the digestive tract from mechanical abrasion, acid, and digestive enzymes. Different enzymes or secretions can be activated based on the food consumed. For example, fat-rich food initiates bile salt production from the liver in order to enable the emulsification or breakdown of fat droplets into smaller particles for digestion and absorption. As water within the secretions liquefies food, molecules are moved out of the digestive tract via absorption by villi and lacteals, where the nutrients move into the circulatory and lymphatic system. Past the duodenum, the other 2 sections of the small intestine decrease in intestinal wall diameter, thickness, number of circular folds, and number of villi. Overall, the entire small intestine is over 6 meters long, which is hard to believe considering it doesn't take up that much space, but can fit within the human body because it is folded over and on top of itself. Contractions continue to occur even in the small intestine, with segmental contractions mixing the intestinal contents and peristaltic contractions continuing to propel the digested food along the digestive tract. A problem that can occur in the small intestine due to a disorder in the many ion transport channel proteins used for absorption is cystic fibrosis. This affects both chloride ion transport and the movement of water. Additionally, fats and fat-soluble vitamins cannot be adequately digested, as bile salts and pancreatic digestive enzymes are prevented from reaching the duodenum by a buildup of thick mucus in the pancreatic and hepatic ducts that deliver them to the small intestine. This results in many deficiencies and symptoms, such as night blindness or skin disorders, but it can be treated by administering the missing vitamins and reducing dietary fat intake. Another condition that can occur is Crohn's disease, whereby a localized inflammatory degeneration occurs anywhere along the digestive tract. Not only does the intestinal wall thicken, but also diarrhea, abdominal pain, fever, and weight loss can occur, the corresponding treatment involving the use of anti-inflammatory drugs. Finally, once in the large intestine, chyme is converted to feces and begins the process of elimination to remove the waste products of digestion from the body. About 1.5 liters of chyme passes through the large intestine, with water and salts being reabsorbed to change the consistency from liquid to semi-solid. In addition, bacteria such as E. coli use the remaining waste materials to synthesize vitamins. In the last stage of digestion, cellulose or dietary fiber mixes with the waste product to form feces. Although it is shorter than the small intestine at around 1.5 meters, the large intestine receives its name from the diameter of the tract. Ironically, chyme stays in the large intestine for 24 hours, contrasting the 5 hours it takes to pass through the small intestine. The large intestine consists of 3 main segments: the ascending colon, transverse colon, and descending colon, with the latter two undergoing several peristaltic contractions to move food throughout the digestive tract. Bowel movements can be triggered by the buildup of cellulose in the intestine. Another mechanism used to discharge feces rapidly is known as diarrhea. This occurs when the large intestine is irritated and inflamed so that feces is moved out of the intestine faster than normally to aid in quick recovery from possible disease and infection. On the opposite side of the spectrum, constipation is a slow movement of feces through the large intestine, with the feces taking on a drier and harder consistency due to increased fluid absorption from a prolonged time in the large intestine. Constipation is often caused from an extended duration of inhibiting normal defecation reflexes, such as from traveling, dehydration, and pregnancy. Though both of these conditions would be considered irregular defecations, the regularity of defecation is actually not important and has become a misnomer. Daily bowel movement is not necessarily indicative of good health. Overall, the digestive system is comprised of various organs and structures that work in cohesion to break down food into usable molecules for the body. As you can see, your body goes through many processes before the food you eat is of use to you. That concludes this journey throughout the digestive system. Thank you for participating in the Giant Walk Through Gut.